good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it's a late night, little late night chat, and we've had some pretty exciting, stressful, harrowing experiences in the last a week or so. It's been one of those. We've got our never-ending saga of the well number 4, which collapsed. We found beautiful clean water. Actually, it was that supply of water there is especially good. Rado, once it was declared clean, once everything was out of it, part of the process of building a well is that at the end of it you empty all of the water out of there until there is nothing left, and then it fills up again, and that water that you can see flowing in on one of our other videos is the water. That's the clean water that we're going to be getting, and it's flowing into a clean well. So Rado actually tasted it on site and said that it was some of the best tasting water that he had tried. So we were very pleased about that, but it turned out that the workmanship was not so good. They hadn't done the block work down below, plus because the well, the actual shaft of the well, thinking of the shaft like this and this being the top, they moved it over because they struck a rock, a really huge rock. So they moved the whole shaft over and still maintained the same basic shaft in there. But of course, having moved it over, there was now, instead of a 4 foot wide or 5 foot wide shaft, there was actually something more like a 10 foot wide. So they had to infill 5 feet all the way up from this rock. Well, it turns out that they didn't do that so well. Sorry, no pun intended. They didn't do such a good job on that. And what happened was, as they didn't compact the infill into that side of the shaft of the well, which was now no longer needed because it was directly over the huge rock, and they didn't compact that down hard enough. Well, as you know, as you probably should know, earth settles. So if you fill something in level with the top of the ground, it's going to sink another, possibly another, depending on how lax you've been on compacting, it's going to drop however many inches it needs to, and in doing so it's pushed against the block that's down at the bottom of the well. And what's happened is that the earth and heavy rain have made the problem worse, and that heavy rain has gone down and it's pushed into the bottom of the well. It's pushed a load of soil and dirty water, obviously. Now we had some really bad heavy rain, so that's made a real problem, because on the top of that badly compacted soil you've got a concrete padstone of maybe 3 or 4 inches. Doesn't have to. It's not for carrying vehicles, so it doesn't have to be great. But with nothing underneath it, it's cracked and given way. Now, we toyed with the idea. We had quite a few suggestions on this, people giving their input, which we appreciated. But in the main, we were of the same mind as those people who said, those subs who said, well, the contractor that dug the well didn't do a good job of that, so therefore getting him back would probably only compound the problem. So we decided that we'd put 4 guys from the Superman team down there with the instructions on what to do and how to get that done. I think tomorrow it should be finalized. Is that right, Beth? Tomorrow? It'll be done tomorrow?
Yeah.
Beth is miming yes. She's lost her voice momentarily. Yes?
Tomorrow.
Ah, that little voice you heard in the distance is Beth. So tomorrow it will be done, but it's already giving clean water. But they want to, because of some concerns that we felt with too, the actual height of the wall that surrounds the top of the well was okay for adults, but because that we called that the village of the children, because there's just so many children, we decided that we would go with another 6 or 7 inches on, which is the height of a block. So we're putting another course of blocks around the top of the well. So that's to allay various concerns, ours included, that there might be some kid might lean over too far. But of course they've still got to be able to get up to the armpit in order to be able to draw water from the well. So it's a problem. And children here, it has to be said, are much more independent because of the fact that they're given their independence by the adults. They'll send them down to the well in order to be able to draw water and bring it up, and that's a child's chore here in the Philippines. Many OFWs, who overseas Filipino workers, many of those guys talk about how some of the things that we show on our little log remind them of home, and fetching water from the well was one of them. I used to fetch water from the well when we first arrived here at Nanai's house, when that was the old house. So yeah, some memories there for me too. Well, anyway, we're hoping that that is a good and happy ending to that well, so that, because it was, as I said, Beth's brother Rado had observed, and his opinion was that the water was really good. So bearing in mind that the idea that he drank water from that well might seem bizarre to some foreigners, but when we first arrived here, for the first, I think, 2 years, I drank water from the well. We had 2 wells when I first arrived. One we used to bathe at, which was just an open well in the ground, and we used to bathe there, pulling water out and dousing ourselves with the water. So that was one well. We used to do laundry down there too. And then on the other side of the hill was a drinking water well, and that had a cover on it, and we drank the water from that well for the longest time. Eventually what we did was we fitted a pump which would pump water up to 2 barrels which are by our house at something like maybe 15-16 feet, and the water goes up to there and it's stored there, and then gravity feed takes it down to Nanai's house, and in fact to our house too, and to the guest house. So that feeds the water by gravity from those 2 containers. They're 50-gallon drums, plastic drums. So that's our situation there. You probably have heard or watched the videos on some of the other stuff, which I feel is another video, and we're hoping, praying that that well will now cease to be a problem. So thanks for looking in. That's an update on the well from my standpoint. You know, we've already done a video of the well showing how far we've come on it physically, and on that video you'll see some interesting footage, can I put it that way, of how when the workers are doing that and they're pulling up not water, but they're cleaning out the sludge from the bottom of the well, you'll see that two guys get hold of the end of the rope with the bucket at the bottom full of sludge, which is pretty heavy, and then the two of them run away from the well, pulling up the bucket to the top, and then you'll see Beanie throw what's in the contents of that bucket, which is something like a 5-gallon, and you'll see him throw that dirty water sludge away. So that's a little about how work is done in the Philippines. Very resourceful people. Thanks for looking in. This is a foreigner in the Philippines.